Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Ready, Aim, Retire. I'm Rob Kirvan, your host, and today we have something special going on. We're doing a joint show with one of the top advisors in the Midwest out of Omaha, Nebraska, Bill Altman. Welcome, Bill.
Well, you're too kind. I don't know about top advisors or anything, but we really try to make it happen over here, Rob. And Rob and I have been friends for quite a while, and we work with the same group of wonderful financial professionals around the country. Rob's obviously out of. You're listening in Omaha. This is the Big O Money Show. And again, Bill Altman. But Rob, thanks. I'm actually hijacking Rob's show. I mean, if we're going to be real here, I'm hijacking the show. I asked if I could be on the show just because he has a fabulous new office and his daughter's a hell of a golfer. Geez, does she smoke you now or not?
Yeah, she definitely does. Definitely does. Yeah, it's disheartening as a parent, to go through that phase when the kid finally beats you, and then she happens to be a female golfer, so kind of double hits me a little bit. Playing from the same tees, it's painful. Well, counseling has helped me out a lot.
They're females they're smarter. They're typically more athletic, especially as we get older. I've lost some of my athleticism, it seems like. But who we also have on the show?
Who?
Tony Shore.
Shut the front door.
Shut it.
Oh,
shut it right now.
Shore. I love it. You can't go anywhere without Tony Shore.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
I'm knapsack.
I'm excited to be here on both the Big O Money Show today and Ready, Aim, Retire with Rob Kirvan and the Big O Money Show with Bill Altman. Thanks for having me on here today, guys. And Rob, you're right. Your daughter, who golfs in college now and plays in tournaments all the time, when you golf with her, she just destroys you, doesn't she?
I wouldn't use the word
she
destroy. Yeah, she golfs for Omaha.
No, destruction. In Omaha, and that's why I brought that up. My daughters adore your daughters. I mean, Gracie talks about your New York daughter. Gracie's a sophomore in high school, so looks up to these girls like no other.
For sure.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a little.
Yeah,
right.
When they get together,
yes,
it's great. My girls love it too. My girl love they love that because they were there once and they know it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing that they're all girls, and then me and Bill can relate, and we can go to the beer garden or something, and let them do their thing, which is kind of nice.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, thanks, Rob. Yeah.
What
are we talking about? That's a great question. I mean, we're starting the new year out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've just began. It's going to be a lot of fun. The year, we think. We got Trumpy in. He's going to make things happen. We talked about that. We talked last show about some geopolitics, and those are things that are going to change. And what we do know is every 4 years it's going to change again. So don't get too wrapped up in it, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, you can't. You got to let life do what life does, and if you get too wrapped up, I think it just embodies you. You got to kind of live your life, let you do your thing. And as administrations change, things change, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the worse. But at the end of the day, Bill, you're right. 4 years goes by like way too quickly now as I get older, but they go by quicker. And then we're onward and upward. So the best thing we can do is just make sure that everyone's kind of positioned the way they should be positioned going into a new administration right now.
Right. With taxes and taking advantage. Tony and I were talking last week about taxes and taking advantage of the current tax laws, of course, and potentially the extended rebated taxes that we thought may expire, and they still could expire. I mean, it could change. We don't know exactly. Right. The Roth conversion, I'm sure you're talking to your clients about all out of this.
And you're 100%. But I'm with you. Like, I think in the fall, or even summer, it was probably one of those things where you thought, that tax code's 100% expiring in 2025, and everything's going up, and it became like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But it sounds like you're the same, thought of me of like, okay, it may change a little, but not as much as we thought it might, because it is their tax code. So, generally they want to keep it kind of where it is because, it's been working. But I think that's probably a pretty big positive for most Americans out there.
And when more money stays in your pocket as a business owner, when more money, you're able to do more things for your business, add more space or staff. Or I gave a silly example last week, Tony, about buying lunch for them or taking them out to eat, and that not only creates good morale internally, but it also supports the local restaurant that you're buying the food from, or the Panera, or wherever it is.
Sure.
And whether it's a local restaurant or whether it's a chain, you still have workers working there that have jobs that need to get paid by someone else, right? So, and we probably spend our money a little bit better than potentially the government.
I would agree.
I would hope
agree.
so.
No matter what side, Bill, I would 100% agree on that. Like the government, it's the government. There may be some swift changes coming in that too, like we saw. So,
right,
maybe some cutbacks there. But I agree, and I agree with what you're saying, because it's like you take your money, you take your staff to a restaurant. Not only restaurant benefit, the person there benefits. The person there then makes a wage, tips, whatever they get, and then they go spend the money. And that's kind of what our entire economy is, right? It's just you keep that hamster wheel going as well as you can, and then everybody benefits. And I think with these tax codes, I think that's kind of my thought process on it is keep them low. The money trickles in anyway. You get it one way or the other, but when people have more money in their pocket, they feel better. They do better. Their families do better. So I think it's kind of a good thing all around.
Yeah, America, right?
Right.
Yeah, America, Tony.
Yeah. America.
I mean, not everybody can drive a Chevy Volt, but I mean, we're doing our best.
Yeah, I do drive a Volt. It's old now. I'm thinking about getting a new car. I'll have to hit you guys up on what you think I should get next.
That works up in the cold winters of Minnesota. You can plug that bad boy in, and
oh yeah,
no problem.
I mean, I have a garage. So
it's not even it's not a plugger, is it?
It is a plug-in. It is a plug-in. It's not a Volt. Has a 4-cylinder gas engine for a generator to generate power to the battery if the battery dies down or gets too low. But it's not an actual hybrid because it always runs off the battery and has an electric motor. But it works differently because it's got a 4-cylinder gas generator. And it's actually a great thing. It was very popular. But GMC, Chevy just said, well, people either want SUVs, trucks, or full electric. So they got rid of the Volt. They don't make them anymore. They converted the Volt plant to I think they make Chevy Equinoxes in them now. And you see Chevy Equinoxes everywhere. They can't sell cars, period. Chevy, in fact, they stopped making the Bolt, their full electric car, for a while because they can only sell SUVs and trucks. And we've talked about that before on the show, Bill, right?
Right. So your Volt with a V, right?
Yep.
Is only going up in value since they're not making them.
Probably the resale value has to be good because they have zero maintenance. I mean, I've never performed. You only have to get the oil changed every year and a half. They have zero maintenance. I'm spending way less on gas. I can make it to work and back with using no gas. So it is a great vehicle. It was the #1 vehicle, GM, General Motors vehicle in customer satisfaction while they were making them.
Is it fast?
It has, if you put it on full electric mode, it is 0 to 60 instantly because
instantly.
Wow.
Not like an electric car.
Ferrari?
Yeah,
yes, and faster than any gas engine. In fact, electric cars like Teslas, their 0 to 60 is just a matter of seconds because it's an electric car because of the torque issue.
I want to get Elon on to verify this.
He would verify it. He would verify it.
Tony, can we make that happen?
Yeah, but I'm not downplaying gas cars. Our country is not ready to go full electric yet. We got a little ahead of ourselves. Our power grid can't handle it. I'm just saying the Volt is a great car. But we got off topic. Rob, I want to ask you, Bill and I Bill brought this up briefly last week, but and that is, or last time I talked to him, he brought up Jimmy Carter, and I know you wanted to mention a couple of things about Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, obviously today, stock market's closed, his passing, but I had, and he was good. He was a great president, but I have 4 things, Tony and Bill, accomplishments that maybe people don't know. about Jimmy Carter. Things
Sure.
that he did. One, he created the Department of Energy.
Yep.
People probably don't realize that. So he addresses the shortages, promote energy conservation, all of those kinds of things. Established the Department of Education. May need to take another look at that. But at the time,
right.
it was a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
Expanded national parks. So he signed in Alaska. I haven't been to Alaska, but the people up there probably appreciate something like this. And conserved this back in 1980, 157 million acres of land to preserve it as a national park. And the last one I had, and there's many other ones, folks. I'm sure you big Jimmy Carter fans are like, oh, you missed this one. Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. So he did a lot of stuff, and I was watching before I got in here recording on Thursday. They're doing the memorial today. So they had a lot of people speaking and things like that. So he did a lot of good things, it seemed.
Yeah, it did. Did you get to see the lineup of the presidents from Trump and Obama? They're all getting along. Tony and I were talking about this earlier. They're all just getting along, laughing. I would love to be a fly on the wall on those conversations.
It's Bill, it's always hilarious that they hit each other in the media. Like if you remember Boehner and Obama back then, like they would go after each other in the media. And then there'd be pictures of them like having a cigarette out behind the White House together. Like it seems like, I don't know if it's all facade or part facade, but there's definitely, because I was watching the same thing, bro. Like Trump and Obama are laughing and telling each other, like whispering to each other. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? What's going on here? Like, what aren't we seeing? What aren't we seeing that's really happening?
Well, and I think every wife, each one of their wives were like rolling their eyes. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Like Melania was on the outside and she wasn't even looking that way. She was like kind of like just looking out in the space that way. Like, I'm not paying attention to any of this kind of stuff.
Well, I will say this, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners weren't fans of Jimmy Carter as well. As far as his presidency, there were controversial things.
Sure.
And some people rank him low as far as what he did as a president. He was a one-term president. But where I admire Jimmy Carter is what he did afterwards. And of all the presidents in U.S. history, and this is pretty much agreed on, and this is why he got the Nobel Peace Prize, once he left office, he was the real deal. And, you hear terms thrown around like Christ-like or, really putting his money where his mouth was. But you see him and his wife out there building houses when he was 80. Up on a ladder and actually sawing, like not just for a photo op.
Right.
He started Habitat for Humanity. He built houses for.
Did he start that?
Yes.
Oh, no kidding. That should have been on my list. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Yeah. Wow. He was instrumental in getting it started. Now there might be founders that went to him and said, help us with this. But he was involved in getting Habitat for Humanity going, and he built homes. He did so much for people in need, minorities, veterans, getting them homes. He made that his lifelong goal. And I just really admire that. And rather than, sitting at home, I don't know what Bill Clinton does these days. Haven't heard a peep out of him. You know what I mean? But Jimmy Carter, we started hearing more about him after he was president, which is unique.
Right. Yeah. Usually sail into the sunset a little bit, write a book.
Yeah.
Speaking engagements to keep the money train going. But
right.
And he's just a peanut farmer from Georgia. Just all the way to the top.
Yeah. He had a couple of bad things happen during his presidency that maybe he didn't handle, the gas shortage and then the Iran hostage situation.
Yep.
So he had a couple of big dings against him when he was president, but after he was president, I don't think he put, that's where the rubber met the road for him. He really did it.
I think all these presidents have dings. Whether it's Slick Willie Clinton in the Oval Office, or, Obama's had his things, and Trumpy, and Bush, and I mean, you can keep going and going and going, right? And when you're in that type of limelight, you're going to get it, and then not only that, but they're going to make sure everything is in the light as much as possible, right? And so that's good, but knowing that we have those attributes and those accomplishments of a president like Jimmy Carter is pretty cool. So some of those things, Rob, I didn't know about. And then Habitat for Humanity, I think, is absolutely fantastic, providing homes and all that. And, you talk about Department of Education. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's so huge, right? So sometimes it's tough to like rein in everything, and some areas might be a little worse off. The spending's not so good, or the administration in a certain area is not so good. But I look here, like in Omaha, Nebraska, and I don't know how it is in Chicago, but I think it's pretty good from what I hear from people. But in Omaha, our schools, our public schools, are fantastic. They truly are, and there's always going to be a hiccup here or there. And I think so much of it still comes back to the house, right? And back to us as parents, and how we discipline our children, how we make sure that they need to pay respect to their teachers, their counselors, their schools, and that they're there for a reason to learn. And then they can go off and do big things themselves, and making sure that we're keeping them as accountable as we're keeping the schools and the teachers. Sometimes I think too much of the blame goes back to the teachers and the schools, and maybe the administration even. Maybe there certainly should be some blame, but also maybe that parenting side, right?
Right. And I think we've moved into, when you're talking about that, Bill, we've moved into an era of, the kid can do no wrong. It must be the teacher. It must be the coach. It must be this, because it's not my kid, because my kid's perfect. My kid is like, they're the best kid ever. They do no wrong. Like, and instead of when I was a kid where it wouldn't matter if I was right or wrong. It was my fault. It was never the teacher's fault. It was never, our parents took blame, took us and said, no, you no matter what they do, they're here. You respect them. You learn from them, and they never went after the teachers and things like that. Like I see nowadays, like it seems like it is a parenting thing,
right? And now the teachers, they're so scared to say anything at all. I have a good friend who's a 7th grade social studies teacher at a local middle school here in town, and he just can't do anything anymore. I mean, if these kids cuss him out, it's very difficult to even send him to the principal's office. And and if you call the parent, and the parent's going to come in, the kid's going to say, well, he threatened me, or he did something. Yeah, right. You know, and it's all that. I mean, back when I was in school, and probably both of you two, back when we were in school, man, if you mouthed off, and I even tell my kid, back in parent teacher conferences, we're getting off subject. This is how our shows go, Rob.
Yeah, I like it. Roll with
Naperville, Illinois show, but we're gonna roll with it. But back when I was, I tell my the teachers when we go to parent teacher conferences, like 5th grade or whatever, I'm like, yeah, if they act up, don't go ahead and smack them, And my wife looks at me like, you can't say that. But I'm half or 3/4 or 90% serious, right? And my kids know, hey, this is your boss today. This is your boss all day long. They are over and above me. Now, if something happens and they're a weirdo and whatever, then definitely let me know. We'll handle it. But for the most part, we don't have that issue, I don't think.
No. And that's a very small percentage of a teacher like that doesn't have. I remember as a kid, so I grew up in a small town in Canada. One of the teachers was my Uncle Mark, and I got in a school ground fight with a kid, and my Uncle Mark was working. He literally, in the middle of the schoolyard, pulled me aside, put me over his knee, and spanked me. I think I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade. The guy was mortified. I went home. My mom was kind of upset. She shouldn't do that. My dad's like, yeah, you deserve that.
Yeah.
Like, leave it alone. Like, it was just like, what? He spanked me in front of all my friends. I'm like, what in the world? Yeah, it was a different world back then. You didn't mess around.
And I bet probably changed your actions going forward. I would have
gotten another fight for sure. Like the fight didn't scare me as much as the embarrassment. From that point on in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew that could be a thing.
Yeah. It's like I remember going to St. Wenceslaus. So it was like 1st grade, sticking my tongue to the flagpole when it was freezing, and the thing I'm sitting on there, and all these people are looking at me. That embarrassed.
Never Christmas story.
Never
straight out of a movie.
Yeah, that is.
Well, yeah, that's how do you think that movie got created?
Right. It's all
in
Bill Altman.
in good old West Elementary in Worthington, Minnesota, I got to know Mr. Marsky, my elementary principal, really well. We became friends. We would sit there and he would we would have great chats, and he would have activities for me because that's how much time I spent in his office. Because if I said anything or did anything, and I know this will surprise you guys, but I was kind of a smart aleck, and I would talk when I shouldn't in class. So
the talking when you shouldn't, I could see that a lot, Tony. That happens on our show every week. Like I could that you're still doing it though. You haven't broken the cycle.
So should we spend a minute on investing? And I think we're fairly similar in the way we like to look at a portfolio or analyze a portfolio and invest in a portfolio. What do you do? What's your deal? What's going on this year for you?
So when coming into this year, Bill, so the way I'm looking at it is a couple things. Is one, clients have to expect going into this year that we're going to get some sort of, larger than normal correction that we haven't had for a couple of years. So we're looking, and I welcome it, like a 10% correction. And I tell my clients, listen, we've been waiting for this. It hasn't happened. Maybe we're in it now. You just never know. But that's what a healthy market needs. And I think what we're going to see is we got, Trump coming in. You're going to have, his cabinet members. Some will be, will get through. Some of them won't get through. That'll cause some turbulence. And there's always something every year. But I kind of look at it like most of my clients, and I'm sure, maybe yours are similar. Most of them are playing the long game, and as long as they're balanced and they have their income solved, and then they have their growth bucket for down the road for, healthcare and long-term care and things like that. And then their middle is probably more balanced or maybe even a little bit moderate. They've kind of, most of my clients have been with me for quite a while. So they've kind of been there, done that. The biggest thing the challenge that we have here is when we have new clients that haven't looked at their 401k ever until it gets there. But then what you do when you retire, you start looking at that thing all the time. And those are like breaking horses, so you got to live your life, retire, go on with it. And I'm always just about, as long as the balance works and you understand that we need these pullbacks, they're a necessity in an efficient stock market. You have to have that. Once you realize that, we don't get calls here, Bill, and you can comment on this. When the market goes down 5, 6, 8, 10%, my phone's not ringing off the hook. I have friends that do what I do for other firms. Their phone rings off the hook. They're hiding underneath their desks. But we like to make people aware through the show, through meeting with them, through, different client events that, these are natural. And we've been through a lot of these battles together. We've been through the COVID. We've been through, 22, the constant downturn. So, as people are investing more in the retirement and have been in retirement, I think a little bit more becomes less of a big deal to them.
Well, I think managing expectations, saying,
that's a great way to put it.
And there's a good stat that 73% of the time markets are up on the S&P 500 over the last 100 years. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty good number that you would take to Vegas, wouldn't you? I mean, you would take that all day long.
I'd probably still lose, but yeah.
You probably still come on now. But really, it's and so you think about it and you condition clients to say and to know that markets will go down, and like you said, it is a healthy thing. It's okay. And we kind of talk a little bit. People get. It's like, you get fat for 3 years and it's like, ooh, I got a little fat there. I need to go on a diet. And all of a sudden you go on a diet for a year and then, you lose a few pounds and then all of a sudden okay, I lost a few pounds. I can maintain this now. And then you get fat again for another 3 years. And then you do your thing again. And that's kind of like the stock market though, right?
Yeah,
and I'm not saying it's a healthy thing for a human to do. But as for our stock market, you get skinny and you get fat, right? So you fatten up and you build a new building and you hire new employees and you get to this point, then you get to a level of efficiency where you don't need so many people anymore. You can get rid of these 4 employees or whatever, and it is what it is. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I feel terrible for their jobs or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But big companies go through that and then they lean back out and they get to a point where their shareholders, right? We go back to shareholders. Their shareholders are like, okay, this is a good thing. And then when the markets are down, when they do retreat a little bit, is a good time to probably buy. I don't know. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah. And buy when people are afraid, right? Like you're your local guy, Warren Buffett, like in Omaha, from Omaha. And that's what he always says. You buy when people are fearful, right? So, but that analogy, Bill, of the dieting and then gaining the weight back. And that, I've never heard that. That's fantastic. And that is the stock market. 1 out of every 4 years, you're going to be down. That's when you're dieting, your weight's going down. And then the other ones, you fatten back up again. I love it.
We just don't know when the years are going to come, and that's why it's like you stay the course. And so many people say, "Oh, stay the course, stay the course." Oh my gosh, stay the course for your risk tolerance, right? For your income needs, for your age. So it's not stay the course as a 30-year-old person investing and going all in and being 100% growth oriented, right? Probably shouldn't be the same as a 70-year-old person,
right?
But stay in the course and not panicking. And that's why, Rob, our phones don't ring off the hook either. When COVID was coming out in 2020, we sent everybody in the office home. It's Kaiser and I sitting here and watching markets just get plummeted. Things were just
right. Mm-hmm.
Right? And we're sitting there and the phones just aren't ringing. Now, we stayed in that office to make sure if the phone did ring that we can say, hey, we're here, everything's good. At that time, it was TD Ameritrade. Now, most of our assets are all at Schwab, right?
Yep.
But everything's good and we're here. What do you need? If you need a distribution, all of that still works. What do you need? And I think that is what people want in us. They just want to know somebody is there for us.
Right. I totally agree. And I agree with what you're saying. Like that's, at the end of the day, when the markets are going down or markets are going up, they still need distributions. They're still going on trips to Italy. They're still taking the grandkids to Disney World. So life still goes on, whether a market is up or down. Now you may feel a little different, when it's up, people tend to spend more. When it's down, they kind of, buckle down a little bit. But if you had a trip planned for this year to go to Disney with the family and grandkids, and the market's down the first 3 months, you're still going on the trip to Disney. And you've already planned for that. And you've talked to Bill or you've talked to myself, and these distributions are already happening to fund that trip. So exactly. Like, I couldn't agree with you more, Bill.
Well, if you talk to Tony, that'd be a different story. I'd be a little concerned. We tell you to invest it all in vinyl. All
records and pizza. Is that wrong? Are those bad investments?
Go to the old market and buy all the records you can. You'll be just fine.
Oh yeah, that old market in Omaha, Bill, is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give a plug though. I had never been to Omaha before my daughter went there, and that city is one of the best cities. And when the last time I was there, so Bill's been there forever. My daughter's been going there for 3 years. I always say to Bill, we got to hook up. And Bill says, we got to hook up. Never have up until the last time. And then Bill brought me to like this hole in the wall, cool place that he hangs. That was just awesome. Like that town. I can't even say enough about it. Like to me, it's like, it's something that no one talks about that has everything you want.
Yeah, well, thanks. Appreciate that. I love going to Chicago too. So
yeah, Chicago's got its ups. Yeah, it's got its good things too. But Omaha is like one of those, like, you just wouldn't think it. Like I wouldn't. Maybe not everybody listening, but that would never be on my radar until you go there and you're like, holy crap! Like all the different districts, and I love that place.
Agreed. It's one of my favorite places, honestly. But
cool.
Naperville, where you live, in specifically, not Chicago, but Naperville, Illinois, is also very cool. Lots of great restaurants, lots of cool shops, and a vibe. But Omaha has culture that people don't realize. I mean, the culture in Omaha is great. They've got the Blackstone area and Old Market, and so great. But guys, we have to wrap this up. It's been a great show.
What do this again though, Bill? Sometime. This was fun.
No, this is fantastic. Thank you for allowing me to barge in on your show.
No problem.
A very special show, the Ready, Aim, Retire Big O Money Show. It's a great one. It's a great one. Now we'll just leave it at that. Great show. Our hosts, Bill Altman and Rob Kirvan. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. Thanks for joining us.
Fantastic.
Thanks, guys.